you've released all these albums as a full band. You've had a ton of success as a full band with Wintersleep. Where did the inspiration and the desire come from to release some solo stuff as Postdata?
I think it's just having a lot of, I read a lot of songs, and you just have a lot of like too much material, more than what you need for a band. And then just trying to find, and also some of the songs are just, you just see something different, like in terms of production, in terms of the way you want the songs to kind of turn out. So it's sort of like, yeah, I think it just mainly stems from just having like probably too much material, but it's all stuff that you want to put out, and just finding a place for it that's not, and not necessarily like trying to make it all part of one thing, is like, because I think that can be kind of overwhelming when you're working with like different people, and in a band scenario, you don't want to be like, well, here's my 70 songs that I have, let's do these. So it was like a little bit of that, but also just like feeling that it definitely had a different, like the first Postdata record, I really wanted to be kind of like acoustic and really kind of dreamy kind of feeling, whereas Wintersleep is at that time, I guess still now, but was kind of more of a rock. It's kind of a rock band, so it felt like it was kind of a good thing to sort of figure out on my own. And it's also just nice. It is nice to figure out, like, to work on stuff on your own, just in terms of like, just so you're not getting into too much of a one formula or one kind of thing that you're always putting your songs through. I think it was nice in that sense, initially, just to kind of like challenge yourself to try to like produce something that's on your own, that has a different feeling, I think.
Did you feel a sense of freedom of, with Wintersleep, there's a specific sound. So it's a large sound. There's a lot of places you can play within that bubble. But there's still certain things that you probably can't do sonically, or genre specific with Wintersleep. Did you feel this freedom of, I could write anything, any style, any kind of sound, I can record it any way I want? Was there a sense of just freedom at that point?
Yeah, I think so. I think initially yeah, that is part of it for sure. It's like, it just feels like this actually can be a record, and I want to put my name on it, and you feel really proud of like something you've done, and yeah, just like freedom. Yeah.
So we have our first fan question sent in here. So this is from Selge Menard, and he is wondering, how did you come up with the name Postdata? Does it have meaning, or is it just something that sounds cool? Because it does sound cool. And then the second part of the question is, where did you record your albums? And I think the answer is different for the 3 albums.
Okay, yeah. So Postdata, I think I was working on a laptop, and it like turned off before I got to save anything, and then when I reopened it, it said all this stuff has been saved through Postdata. Like, this is the Postdata of all the stuff you had been working on. So I just thought, I was like, that's kind of an awesome name, and it kind of connected to the idea of these songs being kind of not extraneous songs, but just like songs that were in the back of my head that you're just kind of like putting out there. And I don't know, it just felt like it connected with the first record anyway. Yeah, so that's where the name came from.
Yeah, it's funny because if you mentioned like, oh, I have 80 songs that don't kind of fit the Wintersleep mold, it's kind of like you have all this extra data that is up there that you got to get out.
Yeah, totally. It's all this extra stuff that's like, yeah. So it definitely connected. And then the first record was recorded with my brother. I mean, we recorded it at my parents' house and at the place where we lived in Halifax. So it wasn't like there's no studios involved. It was just like on his laptop. The second record, Let's Be Wilderness, was recorded in Scotland and in Montreal. So yeah, at Tony Dugan's studio, and then Tony came to Montreal, and we completed it at a place called Mixart, which is right by where I used to live in Montreal. Great studio there. And then the third record I recorded it in my basement, right here, and with Ali Chant, who's a really amazing producer and mixer from Bristol, UK. So we did that remotely, and he had musicians on his end that helped work on it, and then I had Jordan Murphy and my brother Michael and me worked on it in out of Halifax. And Palmer Jameson, we worked on some of it at a place called the Golden Palm in Halifax when we went to track some of the drums that we did there.
So let's dive into the first album then. So self-titled, Postdata, 2010. So you mentioned this was self-recorded. This was recorded with your brother Michael. What does it mean to work with your brother on this project?
Oh, it's amazing. He's just like we've always been had like creative kind of minds together growing up. So we'd work on like little dumb projects or just things that were just fun for the most part, like writing ideas, or like he had a rap project at one point in high school that we worked on. So we've always just done creative stuff together. So it was cool.
Can this rap project ever come to light? Can this be a thing that gets released? No.
I don't think so. I don't think
Okay.
he's a lawyer now. I don't think he'd want it to be out there. No, I'm not sure. It's probably for the best that it's not out there. But just different things that were just kind of fun, kind of exercises. And so it was really good in the sense of like just getting in touch with him again at a creative level and working on something a little more serious, I guess. And it was like, for those songs, it was really, I don't know, it was just a nice experience, I think, in general, to work with him.
So the album is very stripped down. So it's mostly acoustic guitar. There's some bass, some keys, some light percussion sprinkled in here and there. That was the vision from the start. That was the sound you were looking for.
I don't think we really went. I don't think I went into it really thinking that, but I definitely wanted it to feel like it was sort of like, kind of like sound weird, but I don't know, when you first start writing a song and it starts coming together, like I really wanted to capture that kind of moment, and for it not to be this kind of not to feel like it's been worked out that much. Just I felt like it connected. A lot of the songs are sort of kind of inspired by dreams, and so I kind of wanted it to feel that way, where it's just sort of like something that is unfinished and kind of feels a little incomplete, but something that but has a vibe, something that has a really strong that makes a really strong impression. So I think when we were working on it, it just kind of, as we were like kind of getting the songs to wherever they ended up being at, which normally in the songwriting process would be probably a demo, probably more closer to a demo. But there's just something about it that felt really, really good and really connected with, I guess, what we were trying to, what the songs kind of felt like they're trying to say, like it kind of, whatever feeling that gave to the songs, it felt really like it had an identity. And I think there's a point when it was like, oh, it just kind of feels like this should actually be the record, and we shouldn't really mess with it too much, you know. But it wasn't like, I guess, initially going into it, I don't think I was like, oh, I want to like just make a record on a laptop or something like that. It was more like, it kind of felt like we were just kind of going through songs and trying to capture something with it. And then it just ended up that it felt kind of complete. All the songs together felt like it was saying something that felt kind of special.
You're going for kind of a raw and organic recording experience and feel. And what's funny is the description you just gave of what you were going for. In my next point that I have to bring up here is that the main thing I got from the first album was the way it made me feel. So instead of picking out individual songs and this is what I noticed, it was as a whole, that album, more so than the other two, elicited this kind of emotion and these feelings for me. So I remember I listened to it many times, but I remember the first time I was at the gym and I just going through the whole album, there was just kind of a feeling and a vibe that came over me and certain emotions and certain feelings. It just, as a whole,
Yeah.
I guess the example is, good movies don't just entertain, but they also make you feel something. And that's kind of what I got from this album was it kind of got me from within instead of just the audio listening to it. Does that make any sense? Tell me if
Yeah.
that
Oh
makes
yeah,
sense.
totally. Yeah. Yeah. It's like it kind of yeah, totally. There's like something kind of like something kind of just visceral about it. And it's not necessarily about like the songs that you could make the songs into more like studio recording thing, but then that feeling that you're talking about, I think would go away. So it's like, so I think that was something that we definitely realized, like as we were listening to the whole collection of songs, was like, oh, this is kind of like, it just feels nice, and it's like it doesn't have to be a super long thing. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't. We're not gonna try to get radio or anything like that. So it was just kind of, yeah, it was basically just trying to go for like a feeling that like that.
Yeah, it kind of put me in a certain state more than anything. So
Cool.
diving into specific songs. So with Lazarus, so the title of that song, it's also a name that's mentioned on the next album in the song Gravity. So what is the significance of the name or the title Lazarus? I'm Googling, I'm trying to dig deep into all this stuff. There's like religious context. What does
Yeah.
Lazarus mean to you and why is it showing up in several albums here for Postdata?
I think I don't know. I think it's like kind of like well, it's a biblical figure, someone that's been raised from the dead. Um, I'm not sure what passage that is, but so I don't know. I think it's about. I think that the song. I mean, that record was kind of, my grandparents had recently passed away, so there's something that connected with like you're writing something and you're kind of talking to somebody from like kind of raising up someone that has died in song, I guess, or, and you're sort of meditating on that. So I think there was, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it just kind of, it also, there's just an element where it's like it's just a character. I don't know. I also think of like Sylvia Plath has a really great poem called Lady Lazarus, where she's and I'm a really big fan of hers. So I think it's just a name that kind of pops into your head when you're working on working out a melody that kind of fits as well.
So you said the word meditating, but in the sense of like when you're thinking about something or ruminating, is meditation itself something that is a part of your life? I ask this of guests sometimes. I study, incredible individuals that have success in all different industries, and kind of one of the things that ties them all together is most of them meditate. And I don't know if that is the to offset the insanity of being a successful touring musician on the road, or someone running a business where they're working 100 hours a week. They need an antidote to the chaos, and maybe that's where the meditation comes in. So is meditation a part of your life at all, or that's just a great
I
word
think
that came up in what you just
no,
said?
I think that like, I think songwriting for me is that, like if I'm like working on, I do it every day. It's something that you kind of you're connecting with something that's internal. And so I think that that's sort of, it definitely has a probably the same function that meditation has. And like if you're going to do it without music or without guitar, I think there is something that is just like naturally um, rejuvenating about sitting down and playing guitar and kind of like going into your own thoughts and mind, or your own heart, I guess. Yeah, so I think for me that kind of is it. I don't do like, I go for walks. I like to walk, but I don't think I do anything that is like I mean, those are all things that I think you are getting the benefit of meditation from. So yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of different forms of meditation where you're not
Yeah.
saying I'm going to meditate now and sitting on a pillow or whatever.
Yeah, totally. And it is, at some level, it's like there's you're working as well, but I think the best kind of music comes out of like not like not overthinking it. And it for me anyway, it's like when you're actually just kind of doing that as just for your own personal, I don't know, okay, just for your own kind of sanity, I guess.
You mentioned that you write every day. I find that the great artists, whether it's musicians or authors or painters, they work on their craft every day. So it's not about waiting for inspiration to hit, because sometimes it just doesn't hit, or it doesn't hit frequently, but it's actually
Yeah.
showing up for your craft every day and being there ready when the digital downloads come,
Yeah,
what
totally.
is it, infinite intelligence, like when stuff is coming to you, you're ready because you're working on your craft daily. Do you agree with that at all, or do you
Yeah,
sometimes have to wait
definitely.
for inspiration as well?
Well, I think you have to be. I yeah, there are definitely moments where you're like, oh wow, there's an awesome song came to my mind, but that's because you're working so much on it, so that you're even when you're doing something else, you'd be going for a walk and an idea will come to your head. That's for me. That's because I've been working on it like day in and day out. I don't think that whatever that muscle would be, or I don't know if it's a muscle, but like I don't think you'd be thinking of it. Like I guess I'm just the kind of person I have to do that because otherwise, like I just won't be thinking. I won't be I won't be thinking of it if I'm not thinking of it all the time or something.
What do you think is the longest period of time you've gone without working on music? And do you find that it changes your temperament? Like, are you a a cranky dude or an angry dude, or something if you don't have that music therapy?
Yeah, I think that I don't go very long without playing music, and I definitely it definitely let me think about that. Yeah, I think I kind of need it. I do get a little bit grumpy if I don't if I'm
Grumpy
not
pants.
don't have that outlet. You know what I mean? Like you kind of need it just to kind of, yeah, I don't know, in a day-to-day way. Even if you're not like really writing songs or like trying to do something, it's good to have. Like I always bring it if I'm going somewhere. But if I'm sick or something like that, I won't play. Or if I have a sore throat or something, obviously I can't really do anything.
I notice across your entire discography, so the full band stuff and the solo stuff, um, there's there are a lot of songs that have vocals that don't have lyrics. So it's humming and na na na's
Right.
and different things. And I'm just curious, do you, well, number one, where does that come from? Like that's something that's unique to your music. And the other part of the question is, do you see those vocals as just another instrument? Like you could have had keyboards making those sounds or a guitar, and you
Yeah.
chose vocals. So do you see vocals as another instrument that you can play with, or is it something else? I'm just curious about that part of the music and where that's from.
Yeah. I think that sometimes, yeah, it could, you're right. It could be, it could almost be any instrument. Um, a lot of times you'll have just like a melody idea, and sometimes words will feel good, and but sometimes they'll distract from I don't know, if you're not saying something that sometimes is like a little less like it's if it's not saying something, then you're thinking about what the actual words of the previous line. Oh, one second. Okay, don't know
It's
what's going
okay.
on
You're
here.
gonna you're gonna get a text or a phone call every
Sorry, I
now
got
and
some
then,
other.
and it'll
I,
take over the screen. That's fine. That's fine, Paul.
yeah, I
No
just got a
worries.
call. Yeah, no. Anyway, so yeah, sometimes it's just like you'll have a melody, and it could be on another instrument, or it could be like a vocal blended with something underneath it, just for a sound thing, and you don't necessarily want to contribute to the the word, whatever is happening with the words. I guess I don't know how to say that, but that sometimes it's just you're just trying to create an emotion or a feeling, and that's enough, and you don't have to necessarily have lyrics all over the place.
So one of the songs that I love on the first album is Paranoid Clusters. So I just love the sound of that song. So there's like a tasty guitar riff, picking in there, the keys that are kind of laying this foundation of sound, the choir like backups that come in. What are the beginning stages of that song? Was it you had that guitar part first and built around that?
Yeah, I think it was just that, yeah, that guitar line first, and then the vocal, and then the everything else is more just like production stuff that we did when we were just to kind of fill it out. Yeah, the harmony stuff was me and Michael and Connor, just my other brother Connor, just throwing some harmonies down. But yeah, that was just kept it pretty bare, but it was started around like that kind of picking part. Yeah.
In the song Eclipse, there's a line that says, "Are you in outer space?" That's what the doctors say. And hearing that between your vocal delivery, the sound of the song, it's kind of haunting for some reason for me. And I'm just wondering, is that, you as a child that is always daydreaming in outer space and people are telling you to come back to reality? Where does that line come from?
I think it's like I think that's a line where you're I think I was imagining like talking to my grandfather, and uh and I think it's like I guess it can be a lot of different meanings though, but I think it's just that like you're trying to speak to somebody, and that maybe can't speak to you at that time, or can't isn't totally with it, I guess. And you're trying to imagine what they're saying, or what they're thinking about, and then yeah, I think that was kind of the start of that line. And I think it's also like, but I think, yeah, it could be with anybody. It could be like just the idea of like what goes on in someone's mind when, yeah, as what goes on in other people's minds when you're if you're trying to think of what someone's thinking, and you can, yeah.
Another song on the album is Tobias Gray. So I'm curious, who is Tobias Gray? A Google search brings up a journalist. So I don't know if you're talking about a journalist. It's also your most played song from this album on Spotify. And so
Cool.
why do you think this is the most played song? Why the attention went to this song on the album?
I don't know. I think it I'm not sure. I think that it maybe it has like there's a gravity to that song. It has kind of like there's a story, kind of a narrative in the song that maybe feels more standalone-ish. I guess it feels more like, yeah. Maybe that's one of the songs that feels, that one in Paranoid Clusters, like feel like we were mentioning earlier, where we were creating a record that kind of had a feeling across the whole thing. But maybe those are songs that sort of stand alone. You could put them out as like singles or something, just because I think they have like there's like a narrative within those songs that are kind of that draw people to it. The character of Tobias Gray, and I don't really know. I just think I just made up a name, but it's yeah.
And this wasn't inspired by the Gray guy, the Gray character from 50 Shades of Grey. This is not linked together at all.
So before that movie came out, anyway,
Oh, that's
I
true.
didn't
That does
know about
predate
50
it.
Shades of Grey. I think it's just like the idea of like maybe the name comes from the idea of like grayness, or like the idea of like yeah, how like Charles Dickens will have like different characters that have names that they delineate their character with their names. I think it's kind of more of that, just like a character kind of profile or something.
Like Walter White on Breaking Bad. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Is that song Tobias, or however you say it, Tobias Gray? Is that song in an alternate tuning, like drop D or something? It sounds like there's some low notes that aren't in a regular tuning.
Yeah, it's in. I believe that it's in like so the A string is tuned to G, and the low E string is tuned to C.
Okay, well that makes sense. So another song is Drift. Now there's this tasty banjo playing on the song Drift. So who's playing banjo on that song?
I think that was me. Yeah, it was me. It's my brother's banjo. It was Mike's idea to have a banjo on it, and then I think I am the one that played it. Yeah, it was a really out of tune banjo. It was like broken. Um, yeah, that one felt good. That was a cool one to play. Like just it's nice, like songs that are like kind of sparse like that to add. It just kind of adds a little bit of like just a different kind of sound, but keeps it still with really minimal feeling as well.
I love the vocal harmonies in the corner. Is that violin that's on the song? Sometimes I don't know if it's an actual instrument or if it's sounds that are being played with a keyboard.
Yeah, that's violin. That's a violin. Haley, my friend Haley did it. Actually, I think my friend Michael Bigelow recorded that violin um, for us because he was in Montreal with her, and I sent him the song and he tracked it just like a simple kind of like paddy violin part. It's the same thing. It's like just adding these kind of elements that kind of lift up something that lift up the sound of the song, but keep it kind of minimal and just like stuff that kind of like accents little parts.